There's a certain kind of person who didn't get the luxury of simply being a child. Maybe that person is you. You learned early, far too early, that life wasn't going to protect you. So, you protected yourself. You became the responsible one, the quiet one, the one who didn't cry because crying never changed anything, the one who held the emotional temperature of the room like a small, trembling compass trying to keep the adults from falling apart. You never asked for this role. You just stepped into it because no one else would, or could. And here's the part you don't admit out loud. You don't actually feel strong. You feel tired. You felt tired your entire life. But people look at you and see strength. They admire your resilience, your composure, your ability to keep going no matter what. They praise you for being calm, capable, independent. And you smile, because what else can you do? But deep down, you know the truth. Your strength was never a gift. It was a survival strategy, a child's last line of defense. The irony, the devastating paradox, is this. The armor that saved you as a child is the very thing suffocating you as an adult. The world applauds your strength, but you secretly resent it, because you never chose it. This is the hidden cost of growing up too fast. You learn to hold everything together, except yourself. So, what exactly happened to the child who had to be strong too early? Psychology has a word for this: parentification, the process where a child becomes the emotional or practical caretaker of the adults around them. But your version? It wasn't the soft kind. It was the kind that rearranges the architecture of a person's nervous system. Let's break down 3 core psychological mechanisms at play. 1. Parentification, the reversal of roles. A child is supposed to receive attention, not manage it. But when the adults around you were emotionally unstable, unavailable, or unpredictable, you became the stabilizer. You weren't allowed to have needs, only responsibilities. Your brain adapted by creating an early, chronic sense of duty, something that hardens the self-image. I must be strong, or everything falls apart. 2. Hypervigilance, a nervous system. Always on. Children who grow up in chaotic or emotionally fragile environments develop hypervigilance, an overactivated threat detection system. This means you scan people's tone, you anticipate problems before they happen, and then you adjust your behavior instantly to avoid conflict. Your nervous system learned to treat daily life like a battlefield. Even now, as an adult, you may not relax easily, not because you don't want to, but because your body doesn't know how. 3. The false self, Winnicott's theory. According to psychoanalyst Donald Winnicott, children develop a false self when their real emotions are too unsafe to express. You learn to be agreeable, composed, strong, mature. But this self wasn't the real you. It was the version of you that protected your family, soothed the adults, and kept the peace. Your genuine emotions, frustration, fear, sadness, were buried deep because there was no room for them. And so, you grew up appearing whole while your inner world remained unheld. Together, these mechanisms rewired your brain for performance, not presence, for strength, not connection, for stoicism, not self-expression. Your identity became functional, not emotional. You became someone who survives beautifully, but struggles to simply be. Let's talk about the cost, the one no one sees. Because being forced to be strong too early doesn't just make you independent, it makes you lonely. It makes you carry an invisible grief, the grief of a childhood you never got to live. You learn to swallow your emotions, hide your confusion, manage your pain quietly, become the adult in the room before you even understood what adulthood meant. You became strong, yes, but the price was enormous. You had to sacrifice your softness. Carl Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." But for you, that's not just terrifying. It feels impossible, because your entire life, acceptance was conditional. Be mature, be helpful, be calm, don't cry, don't need too much, don't make things harder. You learned that vulnerability destabilizes people, so you became allergic to it. You learned that expressing your needs makes you a burden, so you stopped having them. You learned that being strong earns approval, so you never put the mask down. But here's the philosophical tragedy. Strength became your prison. Competence became your isolation. Self-reliance became your cage. You grew into an adult who doesn't know how to collapse into someone's arms, because collapsing was never allowed. You are a fortress no one knows how to enter, not because you're cold, but because you were never taught how to be held. When a child is forced to be strong, that child becomes a very specific kind of adult. Let's make this crystal clear. You are not naturally independent. You are conditioned to survive alone. Here are the most common adult manifestations of this childhood role. 1. You never ask for help. Even when you're drowning, your instinct is, I'll figure it out, because needing someone feels dangerous. 2. You apologize for having emotions. If you cry, break down, or feel overwhelmed, you instantly feel ashamed. Strength became your identity. Tears feel like betrayal. 3. You attract emotionally needy people because you radiate competence and stability. You become the rescuer, the fixer, the anchor, roles you never signed up for. 4. You struggle in relationships. You don't know how to receive love, only how to give it. You bond through responsibility, not vulnerability. 5. You can't rest without guilt. Rest feels like laziness. Softness feels unsafe. Your nervous system doesn't know the difference between relaxing and losing control. 6. You feel older than your age, always. You've never truly felt young. Even as a teenager, even as an adult, there's a heaviness that never goes away. Each symptom is not a personality trait. It's a coping strategy. It's the residue of a childhood that required you to be more than you were capable of being. Healing begins when you stop gaslighting yourself for feeling exhausted. When you stop telling yourself that you're too emotional or too sensitive or too dramatic. No, you're a human being carrying a lifetime of unspoken burdens, and you've been carrying them alone. So, what now? How does someone who is forced to be strong learn how to live without the armor they never asked for? It begins with a single, revolutionary act: choosing softness. Not weakness, not collapse. Softness. Here's the truth. Strength kept you alive, but softness will help you live. Healing looks like 1. Inner child reparenting. Learning to give yourself the tenderness you never received. Reassuring the younger version of you that they finally get to rest. 2. Allowing your nervous system to unclench. Through somatic work, slow breathing, stillness, mindfulness, teaching your body that the war is over. 3. Practicing receiving, not giving. Letting someone help you carry the emotional weight, even if it feels unnatural at first. 4. Shadow work. Acknowledging the resentment, the grief, the fatigue you've hidden behind your competence. 5. Redefining strength. Not as self-denial, but as self-honoring. There's a quote often attributed to Anais Nin, and the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. That moment, that decision, is your path forward. Because you deserve a life where strength isn't your default setting, where you don't have to perform maturity just to feel safe, where your softness isn't a liability, but a language. Let this be your truth. You were never meant to hold everything alone. And now, you don't have to. If this video spoke to you, if you recognized yourself in these words, share it, save it, and let someone else feel less alone. And remember, the goal is not to fix yourself. The goal is to finally become whole.